Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Well, today we're going to work on the carburetors for that little 360 Honda bobber. We're going to reinstall them. We got the new carburetor kits. I was going to do the head for you, but waiting on the stuff, I ended up putting and cleaning up this head, relapping the valves into place using a lapping compound and putting it back to state. Now, a lot of you gentlemen out there or ladies don't have the tools for removing the springs and everything and putting it back together again, so I didn't go into detail on this one. And I'm just going to put the carburetors and everything together, and then I will come back and we will talk about the settings and how to kind of set them up. Now, you're kind of wondering how I cleaned it up. Well, I used this solution here. This is not cheap. Since I do so many carburetors, I buy this solution. I got this solution when it was 50 bucks. I don't know what it runs through right now. It could be up to 100 bucks. Or you can just use some regular carb cleaner. This is a brake fluid cleaner right here, but the carburetor cleaner comes in a spray can like this. So what we're going to basically do is we're going to start putting this back together again. So you can see that I've cleaned this all up. It's looking pretty darn good here. Okay, the book says 18.5 millimeters or 3/4 of an inch. So whatever mechanism you have to measure that. I have one of these nice little rulers that I can come down and sit on that. And this is right on the money. So, and if we needed to adjust that, what we would do is either bend that tab up or down, depending on if we wanted to raise or lower these floats. So actually the rebuild on this isn't all that difficult. It's just basically removing parts, cleaning parts, putting in new parts if needed. Now, I don't know if they make an Allen head screw kit for this, but a lot of times I'll change out these Phillips head screws for Allen heads, because it just makes it a little easier to, if you have to do some other rejetting and everything to get this bowl off. Said we may rejet a little larger jet in there, go from a 100 to a 110, because we're going to change the exhaust and a few little things on this. But for right now, we're good to go. Okay, we got the carburetors basically put back together again, and we need to kind of sync the carburetors together. So what you have is you have these two butterflies in the back here that you need to have kind of synced in together. And an easy trick to do that is if you get like 2/8 inch bits, or like what I've got here is I've made up some welding rod, set it over here on the left side and double check this side. So what we want to do is we want to turn this screw clockwise, I'm thinking, there. So you want to set it on the spring side or the spring tension side carburetor. And you want this just to slide in there. And we'll fine tune this after we get the engine running. I'm just playing around here, backing it in and backing it out, so I get a little bit of drag. And then there's a locking nut that you want to tighten down inside here. They actually make a tool for doing this, which I ordered I got a feeling I'm going to be doing a couple more of these. So anyway, now the carburetors are basically synced together. We've got the air mixture fittings on here, screws, screwed out, 1.5 turns. One thing I am going to have to do is that I've noticed on this side here we have a plug that plugs up that shaft for the throttle crow. On this side we don't, and we need to put something in there and plug that. Why? There could be air leakage by there, which would change the tuning of this carburetor on this side. So anyway, there we have it. We've got a set of carbs ready to rock and roll. All right, so we got the rings for the pistons here. So we're going to go ahead and put the piston rings on. So what I've got marked out here is the positions of where we want these gaps on these rings to be. So this is the lower O-ring, and if you look on here very carefully, there's a mark here. It says R, and that's for up. That's which way these rings go. Anytime you have a mark on the end there on a lot of these rings, that's the way they got to go on. So you got to be careful of putting these on. I'm not trying to force it, because you can break these so easily. Just kind of walk them around. I've already got it started in the lower groove here, so I'm just kind of walking everything around and getting it down and not trying to overly force this. All right, so now we've got the bottom O-ring on, and the gap will be over on this side. So now we're going to go to the secondary one and put it right here. So in this kit, that'll be this black ring with a little lip here. And we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to kind of get it started in a groove and then slowly work it around without trying to force it too much. There we go. Get it down, walking down and down. And then we'll go to the top compression ring. Same thing, another mark on top. And we'll start with it in the groove and then just slowly work that around. All right, so the rings are on. So I'm going to do this one here and then hopefully get the engine over here in position, and then we will put the pistons on the rods. All right, so we're going to put in this piston right here, which is the left-hand side piston. Get my timing chain so I can get this up in a little different position here. We're going to smear a little bit of this Ultimate lube on there. Stuff works really well. This is arrows pointing forward for a reason. That means that's the way the piston goes. If you note on these pistons, they have a little bigger cutout on the rear, or where the intake would be. That's so that the valve will fit a little better in there. Go ahead and slip the right side one in. Lubricant on that. Same here. The mark goes forward, pushes right in. So now we need to put some keepers on there for the wrist pins. This side in first. Worst part about these can go flying all over the shop. You want to be careful not to drop anything down inside the engine, because you have to figure out how to get it out of there. Grab my pliers here, hook onto it, roll it up in there. All right, both are in. Now we need to make sure that the rings are lined up where they should be. Well, yesterday I finished up working on painting up the cylinders and heads and side covers. I still got another side cover over there I'm doing. So I thought this morning here I'd go ahead and put the cylinder on, take a little bit of WD and square it into the cylinders. I just think that helps break in the rings much better than the standard break-in oil. That's what I've done in the past, and I continue to do that. So anyway, this slides down on. I've got the base gasket on, and we're going to try and get this chain up through here. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to work these rings into place. I'm going to get number 1 cylinder going. It just takes a little bit of pushing and prodding these rings to get them to slide down in there. You don't want to force any of this. So I'm going to spin this machine around to the other way here. One thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out this little tool that I made. It's just a piece of metal that I've set up for holding the piston in place. So far, so good. One thing you do want to remember is that you want to make sure that you've gotten your base gasket on and your little sleeve guides in place up here on the front. Helps line everything up as this comes down. So now we have cylinder on, rings in place, pistons in place, everything's in place. So now what we can do is that we can get the head gasket in place and put the head on. Oh, lucky I had another set of seals, so put these on and they slide down in here to help seal between the head. Oil comes up through there. I don't know everything about these old motors, but I try to know. So now we can put the head on, get this lined up here. But before we get too far along here, I always like to kind of block these a little bit until I can get the chain down in there. Grab this line here, pull that up out of the way. So now we just set that down on there. And while I'm thinking of it, I'm just going to slide the cam somewhat into place to hold. You just got to kind of work all this stuff together. A bit of a pain, but hey. So now I can take this line off. Now I pulled the cam back out just to show you this torquing sequence for these. So these need to be torqued to about 25 pounds. I'm going to go in 3 little increments here first. Go at 15 pounds first, and then we'll let it sit and then come back and do it. I want to bring all these nuts down to where they're snug, so they all get started off. So what you're doing is a crisscross pattern here. And you keep going out wider and wider and after you do this. So you would basically, we start here, we go here, we go there, and then we come out to the outside one, and then we go to the next outside one across from that, and then we're going to come over here, and then we're going to finish back up on the same side. Let's torque these down to 15 pounds. So we're going to start off now. We have two 10 millimeters on the outside of this, on both sides here, that have to be torqued to about 8 pounds. So we're going to torque these to about 5 pounds. So we're going to let this sit now. I like to let them sit at least 15 minutes and then come back and then do another torque job. I like to do it 3 times. All right, been about 15 minutes. We're going to now torque it to 20 pounds. And then on these little guys, we're gonna do this at 7 pounds. So it's been another 15 minutes. I've got this set at 25 pounds, so here we go. All right, 25. Now what I may do is I may come back later on today after this has sat for a while and retorque this. I haven't got the glue to glue this down yet. I'm waiting on that. So let's torque these last ones down here. Well, you can see that I've gotten the motors somewhat together. I'm still waiting on my sealant for putting around here, Bond 3. They say that's the better stuff to use. I've got the cam all timed up on here. Reset the tensioner for the chain. I've got a few parts and in my clutch here, my starter clutch that I'm waiting on parts for. So this cover isn't on all the way. But right now I'm just waiting on parts, which is kind of frustrating in a way. People are slow, and I understand it's the end of the year and Christmas was just a week or so ago, but still I'd kind of like to get this project going. The owner really likes it. He stopped by and looked at the motor, so we've come up with a few cool ideas for the build, so we're going to go with that whenever I get the rest of my parts in. So this is basically the end of this episode. We went over the carburation. We've installed the cylinders, pistons, rings, and all that. Got it together, got it rocking and rolling here. Got it together, set the timing on the chain. I didn't show that, I'm sorry. CommonMotors.com has some pretty good YouTube videos on this. That's where I picked up my information from, and a few other odds and ends. So, but anyway, if you have any comments or questions, you can put them in the comments section below, or you can send them to my email address at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. Now, if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button over there for the next episode coming up. So this is Mr. Miyagi saying, you be safe out there. Hope to see you on the road. Ciao.